Good evening and welcome back to the weekend edition of Into Vietnam, which provides you with a comprehensive view of Vietnam's economy in the past week, extending between May the 5th and May the 11th. But first of all, let's take a look at our top stories. Total lending expanded by 0.93% as of April the 26th. The ANZ downgrades forecast inflation in 2014 for Vietnam to the 5-year low. The HSBC says Vietnam's economy shows bright spots in the midterm. First of all, let's begin with this week's figure. According to Governor Nguyễn Văn Bình, credit growth as of April the 26th, 2014 was 0.93% and estimated to reach approximately 1% by the end of April, equivalent to the growth of 2013. According to the governor, the total means of payment by the end of April rose only 4.18%, lower than the same period in 2013, due to lower deposit growth. However, this is consistent with the development of the economy rather than a decline in aggregate demand, as some experts evaluate. Therefore, credit growth this year could reach the target of 12 to 14%, and total means of payment will be at 16 to 18%. Mobilization of the banking system increased by 3.41% from the beginning of the year and 5.1% compared to the first 4 months of 2013. The capital usage ratio of the banking system is at about 87%, the lowest in many years, and is expected to revert to the level of 80 to 85% in 2015. The State Bank of Vietnam's branch in Ho Chi Minh City said in 2014 it expects to provide 36 trillion dong of soft loans for businesses, signing in the program connecting banks and businesses. By the end of April 2014, banks have signed with 9 districts to lend 5.3 trillion dong to 237 businesses, with interest rate not exceeding 8% per annum for short-term loans and not exceeding 10% per annum for medium and long-term loans. According to the plans, banks will continue to sign with businesses of 15 districts to complete Phase 1 of the program in July 2014 with 10 trillion dong loans. The consumer confidence findings from Nielsen show Vietnam's consumer confidence edged up to 99 points in the first quarter of 2014, compared to 98 points of the fourth quarter of 2013. Nielsen said this is the highest index since the fourth quarter of 2012, providing the Vietnam's consumer confidence index for the fourth consecutive quarter through the first quarter of 2012. Showing that Vietnamese are more optimistic about the financial situation and gradually increase their spending after 2 years of austerity. However, concerns about future still remains when the figure is still below the threshold of 100 points. Nearly a third of respondents said Vietnam has not been out of economic crisis yet. 56% participants believe that the financial situation is good or very good this year, slightly up from the last quarter of 2013, but is still lower than the regional average of 62%. 39% of participants said this year is good to purchase the needed and wanted items or products, lower than the regional average of 42%. Coming up next is some major macroeconomic and investment news. In its report on Vietnam's economic prospects in May, the HSBC shows strong confidence in the bright prospects for Vietnam's economic development in the midterm. According to the bank, since joining ASEAN in 1996 and establishing a bilateral trade pact with the United States in 2001, Vietnam has been pursuing a positive trade policy, switching the key export items from crude oil and raw material to manufactured products and posting an annual average growth of 20%. Despite sluggish growth in the global market, external demand for made-in-Vietnam products still grows 16.9% year-to-date, and the HSBC PMI of the manufacturing sector surged from 51.3 in March to 53.1 in April. HSBC believes that manufacturing industry will be the brightest spot of Vietnam's economy. In the short term, the bank expects the sector will be boosted thanks to improved external factors and increased investment from overseas. However, while the midterm prospects are getting better, slow recovery will hamper growth this year and next year. The bank expects both Vietnam GDP and inflation to be at no more than 6% in 2014. To enhance growth further, Vietnam should replace raw and low-value export items by processed and highly value-added ones. Foreign investors took advantage of psychological effects of Vietnamese stockholders, which resulted in the country's biggest stock market retreat since 2001, to boost their holdings. The State Securities Committee and top local experts immediately voiced to warn local stock investors. Overseas investors purchased a net of $11.5 million of securities on the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange on May the 8th, the most in 5 weeks, as the benchmark VN Index sank a record of 34 points, while the HNX Index also slumped by 3.4%. It's observed that foreign investors seem to be more confident than local ones, while getting panicked and sold off.
Đã bán một số mã cổ phiếu trong danh mục đầu tư của mình. Thì bởi vì về tâm lý lo lắng thị trường sẽ còn giảm sâu, với tình hình chung nó đang có những cái biến chuyển xấu. Thế nên là mặc dù là chấp nhận lỗ nhưng mà tôi vẫn phải quyết tâm bán để cắt lỗ. Với danh mục của tôi thì trong ngày hôm nay mức cắt lỗ phải rơi đến khoảng 15-20%.
Responding to the negative and compulsive reactions of local stock investors, the State Securities Committee immediately warned them. It affirmed Vietnam's economy has been stable year to date, with positive improvements. All foreign organizations have had positive opinions on Vietnam's economic recovery in recent months. Vietnam's stock market was struck hard due to converse information from the EC. Therefore, the committee required local investors to stay calm and be careful so that they will not be taken advantage of and their investment decision will not be affected. In the meantime, Mr. Phan Quốc Huỳnh, Vice Chair of the Vietnamese Association of Securities Business, said, during the trading session on May the 8th, rush selling was mainly seen in local investors, while their foreign counterparts rushed to buy stocks, especially those in the oil and gas sectors. The liquidity shows that local stocks are attractive and investors are still very interested in buying them. Many banks continue to slash mobilization interest rates. According to the latest mobilization rate at ACB, 1 to 12-month rate dropped to only 5.5% per year, down 0.4% per year compared to the previous rate. 3-month rate is at 5.6% per year compared to 6% earlier. Long-term deposit interest rate also fell sharply. Sacombank also cut interest rates slightly. 7 to 8-month rate slipped from 6.5% per year to 6.4%. 9-month interest rate decreased from 6.7% per year to 6.5%, and 11-month rate fell from 6.8% to 6.7%. According to banks, as competition for lending among banks is now so fierce, further reduction in mobilization interest rates will also cut costs for further reduction in lending rates. Mr. Nguyễn Hoàng Minh, Deputy Director of the State Bank of Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City branch, said remittances in the city through the banking system during the first quarter of 2014 reached more than $1 billion. The figure is equal to the same period in 2013 and at relatively high for this point in time. Normally, remittances in the first quarter are high only in January, the time near the Lunar New Year, and very low in the later months. Since difference in exchange rates between banks and the free market is not significant, the majority of people tend to sell foreign currencies to banks instead of receiving foreign currencies as before. On the other hand, as the supply of foreign currencies in the market is quite abundant, the USD trading prices at banks is maintained relatively far below the ceiling price.
The Domestic Market Regulation Department under the Ministry of Industry and Trade forecasts that the Consumer Price Index in May is likely to rise from April. In details, there are some factors to be considered to make price hikes this month. Firstly, the long holiday of April the 30th and May the 1st that will make prices of services eating out rise. Secondly, tightening control of road freight at trucks will raise price freeze. Thirdly, prices of some goods will increase on season change. However, global price will not sharply fluctuate this month, and the supply-demand is balanced, so Vietnam's May CPI will slightly rise from April, in accordance with ordinary move of previous years.
In January-April period, the electricity sector produced total 41.94 billion kilowatt-hour, making a year-on-year increase of 10.28%, including 38.15 billion kilowatt-hour of commercial power, up 7.38% on year. In April alone, the country produced 11.42 billion kilowatt-hour of electricity, up 12.84% on year, including 10.49 billion kilowatt-hour of commercial power, up 6.88% on year. As for the petroleum industry, outputs of main products of gas and oil industry reported on-year growth in the first 4 months of this year. Specifically, output of crude oil hits 5.68 million tons, up 2.12% on year. Output of natural gas reached 3.56 billion cubic meter, up 1.5% on year. LPG output rose 9.4% on year in the period to 251.3 thousand tons. In the coal and mineral industry, Vietnam exploited about 13.37 million tons of clean coal in January-April period, down 5.8% on year. Vinacomin alone exploited 11.83 million tons of clean coal in the period, down 4.8% on year, including 3.17 million tons of April, up 3.07% on year.
The United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, and the Vietnam's Ministry of Construction launched a technical assistance and training program under USAID Vietnam Clean Energy Program to promote energy efficiency in the building sector. The long-term objective of the program is to support Vietnam's sustainable growth by reducing greenhouse gas emission through the more efficiency usage of electricity in the building sector. The program will provide technical assistance and training to officials and other stakeholders in the building sector. This technical assistance will enhance the capacity to manage, analyze and use building energy data, establish a database on building energy efficiency, and implement the Vietnam Building Energy Efficiency Code, which is in line with Vietnam Green Growth Action Plan for the building sector. The program will also promote the VBEEC and green building technologies through examining market incentives and energy demand management practices. And now the foreign trade news will continue the program.
The avoidance of double taxation agreement between Vietnam and New Zealand taking effect as from May the 7th will have forward the bilateral trade ties. The new pact will have the two sides' investors cut down investment costs and tax levied on dividends, income and franchising fees. It boosts trading activities between involved countries as well as investment by helping investors avoid double taxation. The two-way trade between Vietnam and New Zealand reached $187 million in 2001, increasing to $750 million in 2012 and $723 million in 2013. In the first 4 months of this year, Vietnam exports to the country hit a record high of $90 million, spawning optimism that bilateral trade could reach $1 billion by the end of 2015. Vietnam is currently the 21st largest exporter of New Zealand, with its main export products including footwear, wood and timber products, seafood, garment, and cashew nuts. It primarily imports milk and dairy products from the country. Vietnam sees enormous potential. It could reap from its abundant workforce, cheap labor prices, large markets, and upcoming accession to the Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP agreement. Garment and Textiles is one of the earliest members of the $1 billion Owners Club in 1995, after crude oil, earning over $2 billion in 2003 and more than $17 billion in 2013. Export volume of the commodity recorded 151 times higher in 2013 against 1986 and surged by 21.8% yearly. So far, made in Vietnam garments and textiles are available in over 100 countries and territories, in which around 15 foreign markets got over $10 million in export turnover, and 16 others with over $100 million. Especially 10 foreign markets earned over $200 million in export turnover.
In the amended law on special consumption tax, the Ministry of Finance sought to raise the tax on beer from 50 to 65% from July 1, 2015, for 20% for white content from 50 to 65%, and the rest from 25 to 35%. The proposal has sparked a concern about the potential impacts on the operation of beverage manufacturers. More insights in the following report. In Q1 of 2014, Vietnam's beer consumption slumped by 15 to 20% versus the same period last year. The sector's earnings also shrank 6 to 8%. The figures show that together with other industries, beverage producers are being shaken by economic turmoil, which can be seen in the case of the Hanoi Beer Company.
Từ năm 2013 thì thuế tiêu biệt đã tăng từ 45 đến 50%. Thì với mức tăng chỉ 5% thôi thì nhiều doanh nghiệp trong ngành bia, đặc biệt là các doanh nghiệp bia địa phương thì cũng đã gặp khó khăn. Có những doanh nghiệp mà trong quá trình đầu tư thì hiện nay đang còn phải trả cái lãi suất vay ngân hàng, và do cái sự giảm cái tiêu dùng của người dân, đặc biệt là trong cái năm 2014 này thì cái doanh thu và sản lượng thì cũng bị giảm. Vì vậy là một số doanh nghiệp hiện nay thì còn đang phải nợ thuế và giãn thuế, và còn một số doanh nghiệp trong ngành bia thì còn lỗ. Ngay cả đối với doanh nghiệp lớn như Habeco thì cũng đã gặp nhiều khó khăn.
The burden seems to be piling up as beer producers are under great pressure from the Finance Ministry proposal to raise the special consumption tax. The state agency sought to raise the tax on beer from 50 to 65% since July 1, 2015, to orient domestic consumption and raise the state collection.
Đặc biệt lại là nằm trong giá bán, bởi vì nó là thuế doanh thu, và cái việc tăng thuế thu đặc biệt lên thì cũng là một phần là tăng cái giá lên, và tăng giá lên thì cái mục đích không phải chỉ là tăng thu cho ngân sách nhà nước, và đấy cũng chỉ cũng có cái biện pháp là nhằm là định hướng của người ta hạn chế tiêu dùng những cái sản phẩm này.
The Hanoi Beer Company estimated with the current consumption power and the tax increase of 15%, the company's tax payment will add up by a large amount of 440 billion dong.
Nếu như là tăng thuế từ 55% thì theo tính toán thì mỗi năm thì Habeco phải nộp thêm khoảng 440 tỷ đồng. Theo như các doanh nghiệp thì đều nói rằng là chúng ta phải tăng giá bán để bù đắp chi phí. Nhưng tăng giá bán trong điều kiện cạnh tranh hiện nay là một điều rất khó khăn, đặc biệt là với sức mua của người tiêu dùng hiện nay đã giảm.
Taking the affected consumption power, the slumping in revenues after tax raise, and higher selling prices, the tax payment can hardly hit 440 billion dong. Moreover, the tax raising in 2015 may also affect business plan and firms' equitization plan.
Nay, các doanh nghiệp người ta đầu tư phải có kế hoạch ít nhất là từ 3 tới 5 năm. Để chúng ta đưa ra một cái sắc thuế mà chỉ từ nay tới mùng 1 tháng 7 năm 2015, tức là khoảng 1 năm, thì như vậy là cái việc đầu tư của các doanh nghiệp sẽ bị ảnh hưởng. Các doanh nghiệp cũng phải đẩy mạnh cái lộ trình cổ phần hóa. Thế mà nếu như cổ phần hóa đẩy mạnh được, nhưng chúng ta làm sao bán được khi mà phát triển của doanh nghiệp tăng thuế lên, người ta không phát triển, thì chắc chắn cái lộ trình cổ phần hóa, cái chủ trương của nhà nước cũng sẽ bị ảnh hưởng rất lớn.
In the context of many difficulties in state budget collection, firms should share the burden with the whole economy and the government. However, the deadline for the plan to raise taxes should be extended to avoid any shocks for firms.
Để hài hòa được cái lợi ích của người sản xuất cũng như lợi ích toàn xã hội thì Bộ Tài chính cũng cần phải nghiên cứu làm sao mà để có một cái lộ trình tăng, để làm sao mà cái mức thuế suất nó không quăng quá nhanh và quá xa so với thực tế hiện tại để vẫn duy trì được cái ngành sản xuất.
The General Statistics Office reported the beverage sector contributed over $1 billion, or more than 20 trillion dong to the state budget in 2013. It also created jobs for millions of people. The Ministry of Industry and Trade sets a target to make the beverage sector become a key one, being able to compete globally by 2025. With more than 20 years of experience, the Harvey Law Group has made a wide presence in different continents, including Asia, South America, and the Middle East. Entering Vietnam 6 years ago, the HLG has made a lot of efforts in helping Vietnamese people to settle and invest in other countries and promotes Vietnam-friendly investment environment to foreign investors. More in our talk with Mr. Jean-François Harvey, founder and managing director of the HLG. First of all, thank you so much for joining our program today on VITV channel. Can you assess on the chances for Vietnamese people with 2 passports to settle down, invest, and live in other country supported by HLG Group?
You know, business has become more and more global, and despite all the technology of today, internet and everything, business is still business, it's still face-to-face meeting, right? So that's why we have been very, very successful in Vietnam to help people acquire travel document or other residents outside Vietnam so they can do business directly. And this is very, very good for Vietnam, of course, because they bring back investment from foreign country. And more importantly, they can, whenever they need, they can exit Vietnam, do the meeting in Paris or New York City or London, and then come back and bring more business in Vietnam. So far, we have been very successful for our clients. All our clients have acquired foreign residence or foreign citizenship, and they use that as a business tool.
Have they got any challenges in find a living, a job, and invest in other country? What has your group done to help them to settle down in other countries?
The challenge, it can be challenging, of course, to establish in another country. What is very important is to support them to do that. Since HLG has been doing that for 20 years, we have a whole system in place where we work step by step. Once the client acquire the foreign residency, we will help them first to do a first trip in the country. Let's say, for example, in Canada. And we will introduce them to the Vietnamese community in Montreal or Vancouver or Toronto. So they already start to get friends, and their friends will help them where to buy a house, which school is best for the kids, and things like that. Then we will bring them again. This time, the second trip or third trip, this is where they really establish. They decide if they want to buy or rent a house, they decide at the school and all this. So it's very a step-by-step approach. And we are very, very good at this, very good at supporting the client. So this way, the establishment go very, very smoothly.
Can you see that the process is quite short? It takes you only a few months.
That's it. It's a few months to establish yourself. And
Can you talk a little bit about your branch all over the world, and especially the countries that Vietnamese people often choose?
We have office indeed all over the world. First of all, we have 3 offices in Vietnam already. We have office in Hong Kong, in China, of course, in Turkey, in Paris. We have office in Miami, Florida, and Canada, of course. We're still a Canadian law firm. And so all those offices are in place to help the client. We have even office in Greece now. So because Greece is very popular in Vietnam lately. So we have an office in Greece to help them to establish also. So it's very, very a good system that works very smoothly.
The HLG has helped Vietnamese people to work overseas so that they will turn some inbound remittances back into the country and help to boost the economy.
They do that a lot, of course, but HLG is also bringing foreign investment to Vietnam. It's because we have a lot of clients, by example, in China. We did thousands and thousands of cases in China, and as you know, China is having more and more problems with the environment and tax issue and everything. So we have many clients who's asking us to find them a place to move the manufacture from China to Vietnam. We had French client French company who had their manufacturer in China, which we helped to move the manufacturer here in Vietnam. So of course that creates jobs, foreign investment, so everybody is happy with this. And we're happy too because we make a fees, we make our legal fees too, so we're very happy with that.
And last but not least, in the past 6 years, it can be seen that HLG has been very successful here in the country. What are your secrets to succeed?
Is to respect the local culture. We came in as a foreign law firm, but 90% of our team is local. Okay, we have local lawyers, not only foreign law. We have foreign lawyers, of course, but we have local lawyers too. And it's all about respect. It's all about respect. We don't arrive here and say we're better. We arrived here 6 years ago and we told people, teach us how to do business here, and not us teaching you. And it's all, we've been so successful in different culture because we always have this first rule. You have to respect the local culture and adjust to it. Not trying to change it, but adjust to it.
Now, one more time, thank you so much for your informative sharing today.
You're very welcome, and you're welcome to ask me more questions anytime you want.
And the final part is a summary of local securities market between May the 5th and May the 9th. Well, that's all for now. Thank you so much for your attention. For comments and feedback, you can reach us by email at intovietnam@vitv.vn or give us a call at 0422 08 288. Goodbye for now.